low budgets, no rules, and directors who couldn't care less what the censors thought. I think we can all more or less agree that the 70s were great, especially when it came to horror. Today, we're looking at some of the wildest examples, movies that censorship boards around the world simply couldn't handle. Hopefully, your nerves are stronger than theirs. Wes Craven's directorial debut was inspired by Ingmar Bergman's The Virgin Spring, but he turned its medieval revenge story into pure exploitation horror. The story follows Mary and her friend Phyllis, two teenage girls who run into an escaped convict and his gang while trying to score weed in New York. The film doesn't cut away from the violence inflicted on them, and there's a lot of it. The MPAA hit it with an X rating. Craven kept cutting, but it made no difference. According to him, producer Sean Cunningham finally borrowed a rating card from another R-rated film, spliced it onto the restored cut, and sent it into theaters anyway. That didn't prevent chaos in theaters. Horrified moviegoers reportedly demanded that projectionists destroy the film on the spot, while some simply stole the reels themselves. None of this hurt it at the box office, though. If anything, it may have helped. Made for around $90,000, the film earned about $3 million in the United States. The UK wouldn't even give it a cinema certificate in 1974. It later landed on the Video Nasties list and stayed banned through the 80s and into the 90s. When distributors pushed for a release in 2002, British censors demanded cuts, and after an appeal, ordered even more. The film wasn't approved uncut in the UK until 2008. New Zealand's story was much the same. Australia, however, never imposed a formal nationwide ban. The film simply wasn't picked up for distribution because of the censorship problems it would have caused. Customs later seized copies and had them officially declared prohibited. Full disclosure, I didn't get through Salò on my first attempt, or my second. But there's no way we're doing this list without it. Pier Paolo Pasolini's final film premiered just weeks after his murder. Set in 1944, it follows 4 fascist officials who take 18 young people prisoner and subject them to escalating cruelty and abuse. Pasolini described the film's extreme material as a metaphor for the relationship between power and its subjects. But for many viewers and censors, the imagery itself was simply too much. Italy blocked the film shortly after its first domestic screenings. The BBFC rejected it in Britain in 1976. When an uncut version was screened without certification at a London cinema club the following year, police raided the venue. In the United States, however, the film received a limited release in 1977. More than 50 years later, it's still banned in several countries. And in case you're asking whether you should watch it, my answer is this. If you've managed to avoid it until now, continuing to do so may not be the worst decision. But I'm not a censor, so that choice is yours. After all that, I think we need a breather. So let's talk about Snuff from 1976. Oddly enough, it's much easier to sit through, mostly because it's too badly made to be convincing. It started life as Slaughter, a cheap 1971 gore flick filmed in Argentina about a Manson-style cult. It might have disappeared entirely if distributor Alan Shackleton hadn't picked it up, slapped on a new title, and added a fake, real murder ending in which the camera supposedly catches an actress being killed. The gore is laughably fake, but that didn't stop Shackleton from marketing it as an authentic snuff film. And the stunt worked far better than it should have. Shackleton reportedly hired fake protesters to picket his own screenings and stripped away the credits so nobody could easily confirm who had made the film. Real protesters soon joined them, and the rumors got so out of hand that the New York District Attorney opened an investigation. Investigators actually had to track down the actress from the fake ending just to confirm that she was still alive and well. No real crime had taken place, obviously, though District Attorney Robert Morgenthau expressed concern that the film might encourage violence against women. By then, however, the hoax had done its job. Officials in Santa Clara, Philadelphia, and St. Paul forced theaters to stop showing the film. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is still cited today as one of the most influential horror films ever made. so naturally it faced a massive backlash when it came out. Tobe Hooper actually thought the MPAA might give it a PG rating, since there's barely any visible gore on screen. Instead, it got slapped with an X. In San Francisco, people literally walked out in disgust. In Ottawa, police told 2 theaters to pull it or risk morality charges. It was banned at various points in several countries. France even gave it an X rating for incitement to violence. And then, of course, there was Britain. National censors refused the film a certificate in March 1975, effectively banning it. But London authorities issued their own local X certificate anyway, keeping it in the city's theaters for about a year. The film wasn't approved nationally until 1999, when it finally received an uncut 18 certificate. And while the ban was in place, British censors even objected to the word chainsaw in the titles of later movies, so every cheap imitator had to come up with a new name. Flesh for Frankenstein was released under Andy Warhol's name and written and directed by Paul Morrissey. It stars Udo Kier as Baron Frankenstein, who wants to restore Serbia to glory by creating a male and female monster whose children will become a new master race. A perfectly reasonable plan, wouldn't you say? For the male creature, Frankenstein needs the brain of someone with an overwhelming libido. Things go sideways fast. He mistakes the deeply religious Sasha for his much more enthusiastic friend Nicholas and puts Sasha's head on the creature instead. Meanwhile, Nicholas ends up seducing the Baron's wife. It's less straightforward horror than gleeful, gory satire, but Italian censors weren't in on the joke. The film was submitted there in early 1974 and banned outright. Distributors had to recut it, changing the dialogue and swapping scenes around, and only managed to get it into theaters under a completely different title. That didn't hurt it much elsewhere, though. It pulled in nearly $5 million in North American rentals and grossed around $7 million overall. We recently talked about I Spit on Your Grave in the video about X-rated horror films, and the controversy hasn't changed. Its graphic violence sparked protests, with feminist groups condemning the film and critics accusing it of glorifying rape. Even the MPAA went to court to stop the producers from using the R rating it had previously awarded them, though, to be fair, additional footage had been added since then. In Britain, the film bypassed cinema classification and went straight to home video, where it became one of the most notorious video nasties. Ireland, Norway, Iceland, and West Germany banned it outright, while Canada initially banned it before leaving the decision to individual provinces. There is one thing I left out last time: director Mir Zarki's response. He said the bad press didn't concern him at all. In fact, if critics liked the film but audiences didn't, he thought that would be a much bigger problem. Why worry about a few hundred critics, he asked, when millions of people around the world had seen it? And finally, Ilsa, she-wolf of the SS, which British censors flat out rejected for theatrical release in 1975. It has never been officially cleared for release in the UK. Diane Thorne plays the commandant of a Nazi prison camp, conducting brutal experiments on female prisoners while having very specific expectations of the men. One prisoner eventually catches her interest by outlasting her, but let's leave it there. Nazi imagery mixed with torture and softcore content made it an obvious target for censors. Australia and Norway banned it too. It still got a wide release in the US and Canada, though mostly through grindhouse and urban theaters. Critics didn't hold back either. Gene Siskel gave it 0 stars, calling it the most degenerate film he'd ever seen play downtown. Vincent Canby of the New York Times walked out, but still called it possibly the worst film of its kind that decade, and somehow also the funniest. The strangest twist came later. Diane Thorne eventually became an ordained minister and performed wedding ceremonies in Las Vegas. Happens to the best of us, as they say. And that's the list, though it's nowhere near complete. Plenty of other 70s horror films gave theaters and censors a headache. If you know any other stories like these, share them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.